Audio Dabbler, who's mentioned Atlanta, saying this has been a very inspiring chat. It felt like Atarah was reading my book on a few points of with self-worth. That's really cool. And
That's awesome because like that's what I'm saying, like why conversations like this are so important, and also in sharing through your art, because like that's just my life. Like it's just the life that I've lived, and like I'm not embarrassed by any part of it. And it's like there's so many people who can then it's just you can't lose if you're just doing you and being yourself and being transparent and putting that out there. It's not about like, oh, what if someone takes advantage of me or this and this and this? When you actually get aligned with yourself, you don't care about that stuff, right? Because like there's so many positive aspects that come from just being open and being honest, and people really appreciate it, and it makes them like find a place within themselves that like maybe they felt shame around, and they're like, you know what, like I'm not going to do that anymore. Like I don't care, you know?
I think there's something really interesting you're saying there about being worried about being taken advantage of, because I think, like you're saying, if you're really in tune with yourself, your own internal barometer will kind of like detect situations that aren't right for you.
Right. Versus people get taken advantage of when like speaking again for myself and like a lot of people, the only way I was ever seen was when I was perfect, when I was helpful to everybody. I was everybody's best friend, everybody's therapist, the person who would help you paint your apartment, the person who would help you move, the person, like anything anyone needed, I was there for, right? And it was filling a hole in me. And then if something happened and the person made me feel like shit, I would find more external stuff to do to help other people to make myself feel better, right? So in turn, like I was coming from this weird place of lack. But the relationship, like I was giving so much and this person like was giving the bare minimum. I still got a lot out of it because it made me feel good, even though it was like destructive in a weird way. But like when you do this kind of work and you center yourself, like I would never do that again. Like now, for me, it was like, it's how I've survived. And I didn't realize it was a problem until I started doing this. And I'm like, wow, I felt bad for so much of my life. Right. And it's the same thing with like whether it was a manager or an A&R or whatever else, because like I wanted them to see me and I wanted them to like me and to believe in me. And like it's not about anybody else. Like you have to be all of those things for yourself because you can't control someone's reaction to you, whether you're just trying to like be overly available or what. Like you have to do things because you really believe in them and because you really want to do them. And you can't fail when you do that.
How do you balance, I wouldn't go as far as saying this is a devil's advocate question, but it's like a very practical question of like, how would you feel that you would balance or understand the difference between really being true to yourself against having blind spots in yourself that might be preventing you from making the most of a situation or making wiser choices?
The thing is, I think that was how I lived most of my life. So I'm very aware of that behavior now. And now I'm kind of at the point, I'm so self-aware that I don't even get really excited or really disappointed anymore. Like for me, if I have any kind of like strong feeling, like where I'm like, oh, this is the thing, it's going to change my life, or right, or like, oh my God, this didn't happen, like I'm a loser, I suck, like anything like that, I know that it has nothing to do with the situation and it has to do with a lack in me, right? Because there's a part in me that's still looking to be fulfilled by something external. Therefore, I'm on the ride and going like this. So when I feel like that, like nobody should feel that excited, in my opinion. And nobody should feel that disappointed in anything. Yeah. Like we're here to experience life and like navigate through it. And like whether it's a positive or a negative situation, there's something for you to learn. And if things feel very extreme, it doesn't feel good. Even if it's the best news, if your reaction is so elevated, it's rooted to some kind of lack in you. Okay. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel like that. Does that make sense? So anytime that I feel like that now, I know I have to take that feeling and use it as my map to navigate to find out where the insecurity is, where it came from, and then like make actionable steps to like do work around like being present, not living in the future, not living in the past, all the things that we do to like distract ourselves.
That's amazing. So you've really developed a sensitivity of being able to reflect on your own state and understand if that's like an additional layer that's being added onto a situation instead of objectively what's happening in a place.
For sure.
And in a way, you're almost like obscuring what you need to know about yourself by your own reaction, so to speak.
100%.
Because there was something you said quite a bit earlier, Atarah, that I think was really, really, really interesting. And I might almost say would be like the pivotal moment in your life, which was you were just talking about these situations that kept repeating with all these different people. And you had the kind of wisdom to say, well, I need to understand what it is with all these different variables that keep pointing to the same result. And what can you change internally to start getting a different result? I mean, I think that's profoundly insightful. And most people don't go through life really making that or having that realization.
Well, it's easier to blame other people, right? But I mean, that's the truth behind it. But you know what? It's easier, but at the end, you still like bear that cross because you carry around the shame and the rejection and like the bad feelings because you're a victim when you live your life like that. Like I spent so much of my life being a victim and like I just don't have time for it anymore. Like I got to a point I was like crying on my floor every single day for like 4 hours and I was like literally, right? Like multiple like suicide attempts later and all of this stuff. Like I just couldn't get out of my own way. And I didn't want to take any responsibility for my life because like a lot of really shitty things happened to me, right? But like I didn't want to be like another statistic. I didn't want to become like the typical like drug addict, alcoholic, this and this, or the person who kills themselves because they didn't deal with their life. Because like this is my life. It's the only one I've known and I can do something with it or I can choose not to. And I just one day was laying on the ground and I was like, you know what? Like I'm tired of crying in such an unproductive way. Like I'm going to take all of this fucking pain and I'm going to do something with it. And I wrote these songs, I started doing this work and I let all of that emotion come out of me. And like anytime I felt an insecurity or anything, I shared it on my social media, which also made other people do the same and feel open to that in their lives because like it wasn't working the other way, you know?
And that's in terms of like the other way of like trying to project an image or trying to think like you're supposed to be this kind of like character.
Yeah, project an image based on insecurity, right? Like what I thought I had to be in order for people to care about me or in order for people to want to be my friend or to want to be my manager or to sign me or, you know, and then it's like, I can't sustain that because it's not me. I don't know how to sustain it. So then you get lost in it and then you feel like a failure again. But the reality is like, you already failed because you're trying to be somebody that you're not.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed that video. A couple of more links here for some talks we think you'll like. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and otherwise head over to completeproducer.net so that you can connect with other music making geniuses from all over the world. We'll see you there.